Right. Councillor Rose, are you okay for me to go on? Okay, right. Well, welcome everybody. It's nice to actually be able to see you for a change. We haven't got any plastic in the way, which leads me on to one thing. Shall we go back to the old traditional way? When we speak, we stand up? If we would, please. Okay? So we'll do that. Right. First thing on the agenda is apologies for absence. Mr. White.
Thank you, Chair. We've got apologies for this afternoon's meeting, members from Councillors Birch and Panel. And for those watching on the streaming, we've currently got 28 members in attendance, with Councillor Sweet not been here yet either. So, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Right, minutes. We've got one set of minutes to approve as a true, correct record of the 15th of July. Thank you, Councillor Brown. Seconder? Right, okay. Mr. White, any matters from those minutes? No? Okay. Urgent business, I have none I'm aware of. As in exempt information, there should be no need to divide the agenda. Right, the members. Item 4, declarations of interest. Invite members to declare any personal or disclosable pecuniary interest. Any declarations will need to state if the interest is personal or disclosable pecuniary and the nature of the interest. None? Right, thank you. Right, we move to item 5, business brought forward by the chairman. Members, I'm intending to exercise my discretion to tweak the order of the published agenda, whereby agenda item 10, report to bodies, will be considered after agenda item 7, questions on notice. Once the item is concluded, I intend to adjourn for a 10-minute comfort break. I've had quite a few members ask for that. And then we will then consider agenda item 8, motions to on notice. All members, you will recall that the Council adopted a new updated constitution last meeting. Yes, Councillor? Why? Well, because I feel that's the best way around of doing it. Because we can have a break and consider the motions, and then... Not as far as I'm aware, no. I have done it that way because you've come to the motions. If you look at your motion, there are motions, far more motions than we can deal with today. We can run further if we need to. But at the present time, I'm going to do it that way around. That is my discretion, and that's what I'm going to do. If it doesn't work, we'll go back the other way again. Right. Members, you recall the Council adopted an updated constitution at its last meeting, and I can advise that I will be invoking the revised meeting procedure rules that include no speech may exceed 3 minutes without the consent of the chairman. And rule 3A, a period of 45 minutes will be set aside to each meeting to debate notice of motion. Item 6, Leader, would you like to introduce the Better Lives for All plan, please?
Thank you, Chairman. Sorry about that. I didn't realise I wasn't switched on. Members, you'll recall that you had the draft corporate strategy, Better Lives for All, for approval at the last council meeting. This has now been consulted on and refined, and we're bringing back the final version for adoption. And I'm really very proud to be able to present this to you this afternoon. At last, South Hams has a corporate strategy worthy of the name and sets the council on a sure footing coming out of the pandemic to pick up on the changed world we have identified and the things we need to do as a result. It has a 3-year thematic action programme, but the ambition is to set the general direction of the council for the next 20 years. I would like to thank all officers and members for any part they have played in pulling this all together, but especially thanks to Drew Powell and Neil Hawke, who have put in a tremendous amount of work, and my fellow executive members and SLT for working so hard to put together the thematic delivery plans with recognisable measures of success or proxy measures for each action. Extensive consultation has taken place as detailed in section 4. It's especially pleasing that the County Council sees many synergies with the plans they will pass in November, as identified in paragraph 415. It's also clear from the consultation that our residents identified affordable housing, poor transport, and low-paying jobs as their main concerns, all of which have a specific focus in the delivery plans. Businesses too identified a problem with finding the right people to hire, and this again goes back to the housing and transport problems encountered in the district. Part of the internal reorganisation to accommodate this new strategy has been to develop an enhanced performance management system and ways to monitor progress against the delivery plans. This will give clear accountability and clarity on corporate performance. All this in turn will enable us to evidence to our residents how the council is performing through a new set of KPIs, which hopefully will be located in an accessible place on the council's website. Finally, section 7 sets out the resource implications, which are all either identified through current budgets or earmarked reserves. This will be a rolling programme and some actions will be completed before others, but this will allow us to add actions which evolve as important as we progress. I suspect electricity supply may well turn out to be one of these. I commend Better Lives for All to all of you.
Thank you, Leader. Any questions on the report? None? Right, okay.
Chairman, may I move the recommendations?
Yes, you can move the recommendation.
Thank you. I move the recommendations 1, 2, 3 and 4 as on page 1 of the second part of the agenda.
Have a seconder, please. Thank you. Can I have a show of hands on debate? I've already asked that. Nobody wishes to debate this at all? Councillor Hawkins?
Right, sorry about that. Thank you very much. As the Executive Member for Wellbeing and Communities, can I just also thank the officers who have worked very hard over the last many months, really, to bring this strategy and plan forward. Southampton District Council, like all of us as district and county councillors, some of us are county councillors, have worked very, very hard with our communities during this pandemic, something that none of us ever felt that we would actually see or actually have to go through. And I'd like to thank all the officers at Southampton Council to do that. This plan actually ensures that Southampton Council and us as councillors can work more and more closely with our local communities and our community groups. And I'd like to thank the officers who have been dealing with my section, Neil, Izzy and Ian, for all the hard work and effort they've put into this plan. And I look forward to working with them. It's more important now than ever that we are part of our communities, and with our leisure centres, community groups, health and wellbeing groups, it's very, very important to actually bring this forward and work even closer with our communities, town councils, etc.
Councillor Rowe?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Yes, I would endorse everything that Councillor Hawkins has said, and our lives for all of us have been vastly changed in the last 18 months, and we now have a new strategy, a new plan to move forward, which I think is welcomed by all of us as members and the community at large. We all work with our communities. We've probably worked more with them in the last couple of years than we ever did before, which is good because that's what we're here for. And I think we should move forward, and this plan, we will work to it. Better Lives for All is the strategy of Southampton Council, and we are here to make sure that it actually happens. Thank you.
Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Chairman. I made this point at the last meeting when this was brought forward to be put out to consultation. I'll make it again. These documents, I know, are extremely difficult to put together in a way that makes sense and adequately captures all of the objectives and aims of all the different departments and so on of the council and all of the services that it provides. So I think this reads very well. I think it captures more than adequately the aims of the council, and I look forward to see it being put into action, so I shall certainly support it.
Thank you. Councillor.
Thank you very much, Chair. When I first read this document, I hadn't really appreciated the depth of what's actually in it. It clearly shows that time, effort, and above all, consideration has been given to an awful lot of things that exist within South Hams. I have one small, slight niggle maybe, in that the document does say a lot about tourism and heritage, and it does say a lot about the large towns, and I wouldn't want us as a council to forget that there are villages in South Hams which are due equal consideration, even though they may not have tourism as their core businesses or their core attraction. In my ward, I'm looking at the likes of Shaw Prior and Watter and Leamore and Cornwood and Harford and Lutton. Other councillors will have similar villages in their areas and may want to express their own views. I will be doing my utmost to promote them, as well as endorsing this document. So for all of that, I think it's a very good document and one I'm certainly happy to support. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other councillors wish to speak? Yep. Yes, Councillor Pearce.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd just like to respond to Councillor Spencer and say that the villages certainly haven't been left out, and we'd welcome comments as we go along from members to bring anything specific to our attention. And this will be a living document, so if you have specific actions, then bring them forward and they'll be considered for inclusion as it rolls forward. But I'd say particularly on improving homes, there is a plan to carry out an evidence-led feasibility study for the delivery of affordable housing in the South Hams, and it's that kind of thing where we should be particularly looking at the villages.
Thank you. Let's just go back to me again. Sorry, I'm trying to do three things at once. Right, Mr. White, we've got 3 recommendations on here.
We've got 4, Chairman.
Have we? Oh yes, so we have. Not back here now. Right, thank you.
Okay, members, all in favour of the 4 recommendations as per the screens, please? That is 29 and unanimous. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Right, questions on notice?
There are none, thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. White. Right, we'll move to item 10, as I said earlier, reports of bodies. And I call upon Councillor Brazil to propose the 23rd of June 21 Development and Management Committee. Present the minutes, please.
Yep. Sorry, Chairman, I'm just trying to
There's no recommendations on it. by the
find
way.
my place. Thank you, Chair. So I'll present the minutes of the DMC for the 22nd of June, page 15, 16, 17 and 18.
Thank you, Councillor Brazil.
Councillor Hopwood, Chair.
Sorry,
Thank you.
Councillor Hopwood.
I thought you said that chairs were just presenting the minutes and not going through the individual pages. I think that was a new rule that you made.
Hopwood. Yes.
Sorry,
Reminded,
Chairman.
yeah,
My fault as well.
Well, it moves things along a bit quicker, that's all. Right, we move on to item B, Licensing Committee of the 30th of June 2021, page 21 of the agenda papers. Councillor Brown, would you like to present them, please?
Thank you, Chairman. I present the minutes of the meeting of the Licensing Committee held in the Repton Room at Fullerton House on Wednesday the 30th of June 21, which is pages 21, I believe, to 24. So move.
Thank you. Seconded? Okay. This is purely for noting.
That's correct, Chair. Purely
Right,
noting process.
thank you. To item C, the Audit Committee on the 1st of July 2021. Councillor Alston to present the minutes, please. It starts on 25 and there are no recommendations.
Yeah, sorry about that. So just presenting the minutes for the meeting, pages 25 to page 27. So moved.
Seconder? Thank you, Councillor Rose. Right, we'll move on to item D, which is Overview and Scrutiny Committee, 1st of July 2021, page 29 of the agenda papers. Councillor Smerdon, would you present the minutes, please?
Thank you, Chairman. Apologies while I turn the thing on. Yes, I present the minutes of the overview and scrutiny meeting held in Fullerton House on Thursday, 1st of July. I won't run through the pages because they're all there, and this is obviously for noting only. So I present the minutes, Chairman.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder?
Second.
Don't sit down, Councillor.
No.
Overview and Scrutiny panel on the 22nd of July, starting at page 35 of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee, please.
Yes, Chair. In the absence of the Chairman, once again, I present the minutes of the meeting of the Overview and Scrutiny meeting, the second one in July, held on Thursday the 22nd, and as I say, present those minutes for noting only.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Item F, Councillor Brazil, would you like to present the Development Management Committee minutes for the 28th of July 2021, starting at page 39, and there are no recommendations.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, DMC for July, pages 39 to 45 for noting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brazil. Can I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Brown. Item G, Audit Committee, 2nd of September 2021, on page 47. Councillor Alston, would you like to present the papers, please?
Thank you, Chairman. Presenting the papers for the Audit Committee, 2nd of September, pages 47 to 50. So move.
Thank you. Item H, the Executive Meeting on the 9th of September 2021, page 51 of the agenda papers. Councillor Pearce to present the minutes, please. There are no recommendations.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. There are several recommendations to Council. The first one...
Councillor, I'm talking about the one on the 9th of September. You've got the following one.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you're ahead of yourself.
I beg your pardon. Well, I present
You're
the
ahead of
minutes.
yourself.
Yes, I am. I beg your pardon. I present the minutes for noting of the 9th of September, the executive minutes for the 9th of September.
Can I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Brown. Now, Councillor Pearce, you're on for the executive meeting of the 16th of September 2021, page 81, separate circulation.
Thank you. Okay, well, the first recommendation on page 85, 84 and 85 regarding Better Lives for All, we've already dealt with. The second one regarding electric charging points appears on page 86, and it's that Council be recommended to enter into a collaboration agreement with the Devon and Torbay Residential Charge Point Scheme for the installation of electric vehicle charging points, to approve the potential site locations as listed in paragraph 1.3 of the agenda report for the installation of electric vehicle charging points, and to enter a lease with the appointed supplier for a 10-year period. I so move. Do I have a seconder? Thank you.
Sorry, I've lost my minutes for a minute.
I'm on page 86
Yeah,
of
okay,
part
yeah,
2.
I've lost it off my...
So the next one is regarding... Sorry. Okay.
Sorry, Chairman, can you tell me what we're voting on? It's just a bit, tricky to keep up here.
It is the electric charging points, which is as per the screen. So before we do move on, Leader, if we could just have a vote on that recommendation, please. That recommendation unanimously carried. Thank you, Chairman.
Right, yes, so the next resolution is at the bottom of page 87 regarding the medium-term financial strategy. And there are 6 recommendations there. Do you want me to read them out, Chairman, or not? They're on the screen, fine, okay. Well, in that case, I so move.
Thank you. Can I have a show of hands, please?
That is unanimous, Chair, for that recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. And then we move on to the capital programme monitoring on page 90.
It's 89 on mine, but never mind. I think it's the second part of that recommendation. The Council be recommended to fund the overspend of £31,806 on the Dartmouth Ferry workshop from the Capital Programme Contingency. It's just jumped. Oh, hang on, it's jumped a page. From the Capital Programme Contingency Reserve. I so move, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor. Can I have a show of hands on that then, please?
That is also unanimous. Thank you, Chair.
Move on to the Folleton House accommodation usage, is that correct?
No.
One before that, sorry. Planning improvement plan, sorry.
Right, so the planning improvement plan, there is one recommendation to Council, which is on page 90, and it is that Council be recommended to fund the cost of temporary planning staffing resources of £171,900, that's South Ham's share of the cost, from the additional planning income generated in 2021 to 22, as set out in section 2.4 of the published agenda report. I so move, Chairman.
Thank you. Seconder? Thank you. Right. We then move on to a debate. Yeah, I'm sorry, I've lost things on here for a minute. I'm struggling for a minute. Put it to the vote, please. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. That recommendation is also unanimously carried.
Thank you. Yeah, okay. We're now moving on to page 91, the Fullerton House accommodation. I'm sorry, I've lost everything off the screen here, so I'm struggling a little bit. I think I might have got right. Got about.
I've got it, Chairman. So.
Yeah, I know that, but I'd like to follow it.
Yes, okay. So we're on page 91 of the published agenda paper now, and it's recommendation 4 on that page that Council be recommended to fund the cost of a new AV system of an estimated £130,000 from the new burdens revenue funding received from the government for the administration of the recent business grants, as set out in section 4.3 of the published agenda report. In addition, Council also be recommended to fund up to £30,000 for the cost of furniture from the repairs and maintenance earmarked reserve. I so move.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder? Thank you. So we now move on to vote, sorry.
Thank you, Chair. That's unanimous for that recommendation. Thank you very much.
Chairman, would it be helpful if I propose we have a 3-minute adjournment so you can get your equipment sorted out?
Yeah, sorry about that. The equipment was playing up. Right, we are on waste and recycling update on page 94. Yes. Councillor Pearce. Yeah, I'm sorry about all that.
That's right, don't worry. Okay, so the next recommendation was following the waste and recycling update, and it is number 5 on page 94, that Council be recommended to resolve that the waste and recycling collection service provided still falls below the standard required to meet the expectations of local residents. Councillors were given assurance that the service would return to a steady state by mid-July. In the Council's view, this is not the case. We appreciate the efforts of officers and FCC to try and rectify this situation. However, if a solution cannot be found to deliver the super recycling service as specified at the full Council meeting on the 6th of December, if a solution cannot be found to deliver the super recycling service as specified at the full Council meeting on 6th of December 2018, by the end of 2021, the Council will be forced to consider exercising any available contractual rights in order to ensure that going forwards, arrangements are in place which are capable of delivering a waste and recycling collection service that is fit for the 21st century. Now, I realise that a lot of members were not able to attend the executive meeting because of the size of the room involved. And so if anybody has any questions or comments to make on this, I'd be pleased to take them at this point.
Brazil?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I was just reading that motion, and I was interested that it says here that at the end of the Council will be forced to consider exercising any available contractual rights. they're sort of implying that we're not at the moment. Perhaps the leader could tell us what we are doing to try and make it right at the moment, if we're not exercising those contractual rights as it stands.
Councillor Pearce?
Yes, I'd be pleased to do that, but I think it might be better if the Chief Executive were to reply to that one, if that's all right with him.
Of course, Leader. Thank you very much. I'm happy to do so. I may well need to ask for some legal advice from the monitoring officer. Of course, as we have already made clear at all stages, we are using every means at our disposal. We've provided advice to group leaders with regard to the legal advice we've had. We have made sure that we have challenged the contractor around their performance at every stage, and the executive are doing that on a weekly basis. We have had a series of reports, including having the contractor to the council meeting, full council meeting, to ONS, and you, as a group of members, as the council as a whole, have challenged them during that. So we are using every means at our disposal. There are a variety of contractual means which we are also taking advice on and which we will be implementing. Thank you. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Bates. Yes. Councillor Hodgson.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to ask, being as this is a recommendation from executive, does the motion get moved for recommendation? Because I'd actually like to move an amendment.
Can I answer that one, Chair? We're currently in questions on the recommendation, so nothing's been moved and seconded yet. But when at the appropriate time, this can be taken and amendments can be invited in the debate on this item.
Thank you.
Do you have to hold your hands up? Councillor Taylor, please.
Yes, thank you very much. I appreciate that every member is coming under pressure from this waste miscollections and everything that goes on with it. And I do also, are we actually approaching FCC to make sure they catch up? And I know you are, because you're working very busy on it. But that was the question, really. And can we push it forward, please?
Councillor Baldry may want to add to this reply, but I know that our team, working with FCC supervisors, are doing everything they can to catch up on missed collections. Now, the shortage of driver does mean that this varies from day to day, so that some days following missed collections, it is possible to go out and collect them, and some days it isn't. But we do have a system now where by about 10 o'clock in the morning, Hayley Duffy is able to sends out an email to members informing them of the situation for the day. And so if you know of any missed collections in your area, you're able to tell them whether they're likely to be picked up or not on that day, following the missed one which they've reported.
Thank you. Councillor Baldry.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. The leader has invited me to speak. I was going to make these remarks, not return to questions, because Councillor Taylor has just answered his own question when he said he knew we were doing everything possible. But I would just like to echo what the leader has said. We have a tremendous team of South Hams officers working to do the work which FCC ought to be doing. We have people in place in the depots. We are going out with our own staff to collect where necessary. I just really want to pay tribute to what the work which South Hams are doing to make up for the total inadequacy of the management and supervision of FCC.
Thank you. Councillor Sweet. And then Councillor... Because it's questions, don't forget.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask, are FCC actually offering any driver training programs, or are South Hams offering that in collaboration with FCC? Does anybody know? Has that been investigated? That FCC actually are training up missing drivers?
Right.
Anyone know?
Mrs. Moody?
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair.
Welcome.
Oh, can you see me? Sorry. Hello. Yes, so currently FCC have awarded a pay increase to their drivers, and so they're hoping that by doing that, that should attract further drivers into the business. In terms of working with the national shortage, absolutely, they are trying to attract drivers and put people through some kind of incentive, which hasn't been worked up yet, but they are actively looking at how they can incentivise drivers to work for their company, essentially. I don't know if that answers it for you.
Can I come back on that?
It's another question, yes.
I just wondered if they were actually offering training to existing drivers, existing staff and existing drivers of smaller vehicles that actually already kind of know the routes and know the system.
So the short answer to that is no. And I believe some of the challenges around that are some of the waiting times for the HGV driver training programs that they've got. We equally have been looking at how internally we're able to put some of our drivers through some HGV if we needed to in the future, and we are experiencing the same challenges as FCC are around the waiting times for getting people through those courses.
Get on the list then. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Smurden?
Thank you, Chairman. As the
question.
Sorry. Okay, I'm getting there. I managed 2 words. As the brown bin waste service is currently suspended and appears to be that suspension would appear as though it's going to be longer than a lot of us. It's certainly going to be longer than the 4 weeks, which was originally intended. In terms, are we able to encourage composting? I mean, I'm quite fortunate that there's a community composting set up in South Brent, which is taking up quite a bit of the slack. Are we able to offer anything to other communities? I'm thinking along the lines of possibly putting skips so that people can put their garden waste in, or anything along that sort of line. Are we able to offer anything like that to our residents?
I have had that question asked myself, so I'd like to know the answer.
Thank you, Chairman. So the whole purpose of suspending the garden waste contract, that bit of it, was to ensure that the additional capacity could go back into the core service delivery. Unfortunately, that hasn't had that desired effect, but nevertheless, we're unable within the contract at the moment to shift resources back without undermining the recycling and residual waste collection. So that won't be an option that will be possible to us. We are going to bring a report back to the Executive on the 14th of October as set out in the minutes. That will consider options available to us to bring in additional capacity in order to clear the existing issues and challenges. We'll also have a look at what the longer term options are. So we will bring it back in that paper. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Any further questions? Have I missed anybody? Yes, I have. Right, okay. Councillor Long.
Chairman, just following on from Councillor Baldry's comment, can I just ask how much SHDC officer time and other staff time is being provided to FCC? Basically, how much of a gap in the FCC management and operations are we plugging?
Councillor Baldry, do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, I will answer that. All the time that our officers are spent is being recorded, and FCC will get a bill for it. We are plugging a gap, in my opinion, not so much in numbers of bodies, but in ability. And it is the fact that FCC seem incapable of providing supervisors who are doing the job properly, and we are pleased to say that we can provide such supervision. It is not a shortage of supervision, it is shortage of ability, Chairman.
Thank Yeah, we've got Councillor Callaghan. Can I have... Right, okay. Councillor Rose first, and then Councillor Callaghan. All right.
Thank you, Chair. I understand that the compost is still not being collected in some areas, and in all areas, and I'm aware the accumulated impact of that much compost being put into the waste system is quite substantial. And could we have an update as to when we might expect the compost to continue, and if there are any kind of ecological remunerations that are being looked at from FCC as to the impact against our climate strategies? Thank you.
Right, Councillor Baldry. Yeah, okay.
I would certainly discourage people from putting their garden waste into the residual collection, because it will be incinerated rather than used to create compost. Councillor, we have suspended the service for the reasons which have been rehearsed several times. It is suspended in order that we can use the FCC, or they can use their staff in better streams, more important streams, in my judgment, than collecting garden waste. But I would take this opportunity, I hope everyone does it, to encourage all their residents and all their communities to do as much composting as they possibly can on their own premises, or there are very good schemes around the district where people have a centralised point for composting.
Thank you. Councillor Callaghan, and then Councillor Hodgson. And then
Thank you.
No, you were, yeah, I am looking at it, but every time nobody wait, you won't, yeah.
That was me. It's a quick question. Can we consider dropping, in the interest of accuracy, the super from the super recycling? It's A, inaccurate, B, increasingly embarrassing. Thank you.
Noted and agreed, Chairman.
I'm going to, Councillor Hotwood.
Just a quick, I should think, Councillor Rose, you would be delighted that all the garden waste is composting down on its own. That is very, very environmentally friendly. But the question is to the leader of the council, can you give residents assurance, please, that under the present administration, this isn't some backhanded way of stopping collecting garden waste altogether, so that actually from next April you can charge? Thank you.
It was not our wish that we should have to stop the brown bin collections, but as you know, this is a discretionary service, and as such, it was the one service we could pull without any consequences. And if we are able to reinstate it in the spring, then we will. And I would have thought the last thing we want to do after having had to pull it at such short notice is to charge for it. While I'm on my feet, could I just add to what Mrs. Moody said as an answer? I understand that for anybody applying for an HGV provisional licence, because obviously it looks like quite an attractive job at the moment, but there is some sort of industrial action going on at Cardiff where you get your licences from. And so there's approximately a 12-week wait to even get a provisional licence. So it's not helping the throughput of drivers. And for any drivers who've come off the road and want to reinstate their licences, they're encountering the same sort of waits. So I'm afraid that we're not being helped by DVLC or whoever they are in Cardiff either.
Councillor Hodgson.
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to ask, when will FCC come before this full council again? They came before us a couple of 2 or 3 months ago, and I think it was very beneficial for us to understand from the horse's mouth and be able to actually ask questions. And I think given the consistent deterioration of services, I think that might be something that would be appreciated by our residents, to see that as their individual representatives, we are able to bring some of the issues before them directly and ask for direct answers. Because otherwise I think we're constantly putting our own officers and our own councillors in a position as intermediaries, when I think we perhaps could ask some direct questions.
Yeah. Am I correct in saying that I thought they were coming to the next scrutiny meeting? ONS? Is that still happening? Yeah, please.
So thank you, Chairman. Yes, that's absolutely correct. FCC have been invited to the next meeting of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee. Unfortunately, the date on which that was proposed is not one that they can do, and rather than having, they are coming, so rather than having the meeting on a date they can't do, we're going to reorganise for a date that they can, which we haven't been able to do. Clearly, the chairman of ONS is not here at the moment, so once he's back, we will agree that date. But it's planned for the next few weeks.
Chairman, can I ask the Chief Executive a question with regard to that, please? As
you may.
Vice Chair of ONS.
Yes.
That date for the next ONS meeting has been set for months, and FCC have known that they were due to report at that meeting. Why can they suddenly not attend?
Good question. Moody?
Thank you very much, Chair. To answer that, Councillor Smurden, I'm not actually sure of the actual date they were invited. That was managed by Steve, and unfortunately he's on leave. What I can tell you is the reason they are unable to attend the next meeting is due to one of the operational managers is on leave, and he's actually integral to the daily understanding of how the service is operating, and he has the detail around what's happening every day, which perhaps the senior manager, I think Steve, wouldn't be able to give you on that day.
If I might come back, I think it's pretty unbelievable that FCC are not able to find another member of staff to fill that post. Well, right, okay, and as I say, that date had been set for a long time, and I'm very disappointed that that meeting has had to be cancelled, and that they will not be appearing.
I'll let the Chief Executive say a few words.
So I couldn't agree more, Councillor Smurden. It's incredibly disappointing that is the case. But I think, as I've already said, the critical thing is that we do bring them. We bring their senior management and their operational management. We hold them to account, and we give members the opportunity to ask those questions. So given a choice between having the date as is and not having them there, and having a date that they can do and hold them to the account, clearly the latter is better.
I'm sorry to labour the point, but I think we would all like to know that if this meeting is going to be rearranged, that it's rearranged swiftly, and is not allowed to, there's not allowed, in terms of days or, at least a week or something. I don't think it's fair that, that this situation should be allowed to drag on.
They're very clear as to our requirements, Councillor Smurden. Thank you.
Mr. Abbott.
Thank you. I'd like clarification on an earlier answer, please. The point was raised about providing skips, which has been available as a query from residents for many months. And the response was this couldn't be done because of the current resources. Well, as I understand it, all extra expenses are paid by FCC over and above the normal pay that they receive. We get something back. And I don't see why we shouldn't have, I ask, I suppose, can we have skips available everywhere throughout the district, and it will not cost us money?
Thank you, Councillor Abbott. Mrs. Moody, could you come back in again, please?
Thank you very much, Chair. There are a number of factors which make skips in the community quite challenging. The first one is around the outlets and where they're going to. So the green waste contract is currently managed by Devon County Council. So there are conversations we'd have to have with our counterparts. The next one is around some of the environmental challenges. So we know in waste that skips often attract other waste streams as they become fly tips. So you'll end up with green waste skips with mattresses and other items in there, which then makes that contaminated, which means the waste is unable to be recycled. They're just some of the challenges. Equally, we also know that if you move a skip lorry, you need an HGV driver, of course, which we also have shortages of. So there are a number of challenges. I can't say that it's impossible, but there are certain things we would have to work through in order for that to be achievable.
So you can come back.
Thank you. Sensible answers, but in fact something that could have been addressed over at least 6 months, if not a year, we've been waiting. And some of them must be manageable because, for instance, HGV drivers could come from the commercial companies who operate skip hire and collection. So that may not be anything to do with our own people. If they're offering that service, they'll be able to pick it up. I can understand the contamination is a real problem.
Yeah, you can have a second question. Councillor Brazil.
Thank you. I was just wondering, one of the many questions that residents are asking is about the commingled waste. We've been assured that 100% of the commingled waste, other than that which has been contaminated presumably by the householders, is being recycled now at a plant in Avonmouth. I wonder what assurances we've got that that is the case. And I don't just mean assurances from FCC, I mean actual factual assurances. And secondly, at what stage will members be allowed to visit the site so that we can satisfy ourselves that that is indeed the case? Thank you.
Mrs. Moody again, I'm afraid you're going to have to go again.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good question, Councillor Brazil. Absolutely 100% all of our waste is recycled. What we do is we receive gate tickets or tipping tickets to say where the waste has gone. We also have to report to DEFRA the waste journey, if you like, of all of our wastes to every single outlet that we send it to. So if you would like the Weybridge tickets, we have them to actually show you what waste has gone where. But yes, we have to record that every month.
Do you wish to come back?
I mean, it just doesn't answer the question, does it? I mean, we know that it's all being taken to Avonmouth, but what we want to know is how much of it is actually being separated for recycling and how much of it is being wasted and is in residue and is having to go for landfill or incineration. You know, what we want to, we're told that 100% of it is being recycled, but weighing what goes in isn't any good. We want to know, we'll weigh what comes out at the other end.
Mrs. Moody.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Brazil. So whenever our waste is sent off for processing, if there are any contamination within that, we then get a report back. So depending on the waste stream, so for example, paper, if that gets wet and damp, it's not able to be recycled, we then get a contamination rate back from the reprocessor. But it's all sent there to be recycled and they try and salvage as much as possible, apart from where it is heavily contaminated. And we have all that data on reports from every reprocessor that we send it to.
Can I ask then that we have those reports? Because I have to say that putting glass bottles, some of which probably haven't been properly emptied, crushing them up with paper is no doubt leading to contamination within those trucks. So, you know, I think that's the point that members of the public are making. They're making the effort to separate their waste. We are then commingling it. As a result of that commingling, how much is being lost and is not being able to be recycled? It's a very simple question. The evasiveness, not from Ms. Mood, I have to say, but the evasiveness that I have found from other officers and questions when I put this to council leads me to believe that a lot of it is not being recycled and is going to incineration or landfill. And I think that South Hams residents deserve to know.
Councillor Baldry.
Can I go back a stage first and just concentrate on the question from Councillor Abbott? Just to remind him that the Chief Executive did say that we would be considering options which will come only on the 14th of October to the next Executive on the question of, which will include the question of providing community skips for garden waste. But I just repeat, I am not confident that that will be any use because I think it will be contaminated by irresponsible members of the public going after dark and putting stuff into those waste skips. On the question of Councillor Brazil is raising about co-mingling, I am very keen that we arrange a visit for all members to see what happens at the MRF where it is being dealt with. At the moment that is not practical simply because of a fire at Chelsea Meadow where it was being dealt with and it's now going up to the Bristol area. But as soon as possible, I would like to arrange a visit so all members can convince themselves. And I would actively and seriously discourage members of the public for putting recycling materials in the residual waste. That is what we do not want that to happen. We do not want the items which should and could be recycled put into the black bins and black sacks where they will go for incineration. A mention has been made, I think, by Councillor Brazil or someone else about landfill. To assure all members, no South Hams waste goes to landfill. The residual goes for incineration, where it is turned into electricity to be used in the dockyard.
Thank you, Councillor Bowdry. I'm going to go to Councillor Rosemary Rowe.
Thank you, Chairman. Are we still on questions, or have we moved to debate
Well, we're on
yet?
questions for a
Because
minute.
I would move that we move on, because I think the questions that are being asked, and it's being partly debated in my view. We've talked about all this before at previous meetings, and we're not gaining anything out of it. So could we move on, please?
I've got 2 or 3 others. Yes, Councillor Kemp. I'm sorry, Kate. I've been looking at you, but I'm able to get you in. So please.
It's all right, I've got another one. Thank you. What I wanted to ask was what happened to all our HGV drivers that we had before the grand entrance of FCC, and also, rather than skips, which I think is not the brightest idea of the week, sorry, community composting, however, would solve so many problems in so many parishes, maybe not the towns, but it's a much better solution than dumping it in skips, is it not? And is that achievable? Should the South Hams not be, or Devon County, be supporting villages with their own initiatives?
Okay. Can I add something? Is there still grants available for community composting? Because there used to be. Anybody know the answer to that? Because there are some very good ones that got a grant a few years ago and are still running well.
The county used to provide credits for recycling credits in the form of money, but I think that's been very much cut back by the county. I should also add that the district council used to provide chipping machines, but they now charge for that.
So I'm just going to try and bring that all together. So clearly composting at home is the best solution, isn't it? Community composting is bound to be the second best solution. What we're trying to work out is the solution at the macro level, but of course, as well as doing that across the district as a whole. So absolutely, the report on the 14th of October will consider all those issues. Clearly, community composting will be part of that. But we do need to work through the logistics, and at the moment we've got thousands of people who have got green waste bins that haven't had them collected. So, we need to work at the individual level, community level, but also, principally sort out the big issue. So Councillor Kemp, I think you're answering my question in a way, which is it will take time to work through the detail of all of that because there are different arrangements across the whole district, and we have to be. Okay. Well, that's great. Please keep going, because the more you do that within your own community, the less my officers are being dragged into doing that.
Right. I think we know the answer, but I'll allow Councillor Bowdry just to fill you in on that one.
It is a well-known national media problem, reported in the media, that drivers are leaving, and it is my opinion that they may have left FCC employment more quickly than they would have left other employment.
Most of the ones
Yeah. Councillor Pearce.
Thank you. I just wanted to come back to Councillor Brazil and the question of commingled recycling, and to remind him that commingled recycling is used by a lot of districts up and down the country, and when it is commingled, it is sent to a mechanical recovery facility, which is a MRF, which is where ours is being sent at the moment. And for them, that is a perfectly good way of doing it. Now, the problem with it is that the recyclates are not in such clean state as they are the way we are collecting them curbside at the moment. And so the credits you get for the recyclates are not as good as they are from curbside sorting. And to Councillor Baldry, I understand that Charleston Meadows is now open again, and so that the commingled is going to Plymouth and not up to Avon at the moment. But I could be wrong on that, but that's what we were told last week.
As ever, leader, you are ahead of me in your knowledge.
No, not at all, but you did take a day off, so that was your fatal mistake.
Yes, I'm going to. Leader, would you like to propose the recommendation, please?
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, if I can just get it up in front of me. Well, I've read it out, so I'm happy to move that recommendation.
Seconded, Chairman.
Councillor Hodgson, I believe you said to me you want to put an amendment.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I would actually. The issue I have with this amendment is that I think it needs to be much stronger. And for those who've read through their agenda of this meeting, will find an awful lot of similarity between this recommendation and the one that's the motion, which predated it actually, which thought to be in time for the agenda. This obviously, the recommendation before you is part of the executive meetings minutes, and it was actually proposed there as an amendment. The problem I have is that I think it needs to be much stronger. If we're going to have anything to really sort of pull FCC around, I think we've got to show not only them, but I think we've also got to show it to our residents that we're really concerned. And it's not, oh, we'll consider. I mean, I would say, take you to the fourth line up from the bottom, where it starts by the end of 2021. The council will be forced to consider exercising any available contractual rights. Well, as Councillor Brazil pointed out earlier, well, we would hope that that's well underway already. So I think putting it in there, it actually puts us on the back foot, which I don't think is good enough. So my amendment is actually just really to tighten it up. And going along with the plagiarism, I'll let it go right the way to 2021. But I would, instead of the next bit after that, I would amend to read, the council will exercise its contractual rights and look to bring the service back in-house. We would initiate a transition period in discussion with FCC for the benefit of both parties. We will also look to work in partnership with other authorities to deliver a waste and recycling service that is fit for the 21st century. And actually what this does, by bringing that in now, it actually saves a good 10 minutes at the end of this meeting, because you won't have to visit that motion there, because all I've done is actually just amended this motion before us under executive to the motion that you have under item 5 or 6 on the agenda. So I've moved that amendment for the motion so that we actually get some power to our elbow with FCC. In particular, hopefully we meet with them in a couple of weeks' time.
Thank you, Councillor Hodgson. I think Councillor Long, thank you. Pardon?
No, oh.
Oh, sorry.
Well, I thought that I had the prerogative as the mover to actually say whether I would accept the amendment or not. And my view is that we should ask the monitoring officer for his advice.
Chairman, I wonder if I could invite council to exclude the press and public whilst I give legal advice. That's in accordance with paragraphs 3 and 5 of Schedule 12A. Is likely, as the discussion is likely to involve the disclosure of exempt information, and I'd ask council to so move.
Right. I will have to read this little piece out then. That in accordance with section 100A brackets 4 brackets of the Local Government Act 1972, the public and press be excluded from the meeting during consideration of the following items of business as the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in paragraph 3 of part 1 of Schedule 12A to the Act is involved. Can I have a show of hands?
No, Chairman, I'm going to oppose, actually. I'm going to tell you the reason I oppose. This is a matter of enormous concern to the public. I do not think we should be seen to be discussing something like this in a secret session. I will vote against moving into a secret session. We have to take vote on the exclusion.
Yes, right. Can I have a show of hands of those in favour of excluding the public and press, please?
That's 16 in favour of the recommendation, Chair.
Those against?
And 13 against. Thank you, Chair.